7 years ago, I was able to see the total eclipse.
Oh, hi, Hans. Wait, I'm not Mr. The Room. I mean, what up, boy? How's it do? And were you able to see a total eclipse, eh? That's cool, that's cool. Although you make it sound like you were the only one. I was able to see the total eclipse because of how special and important I am. I even did it at night, while inside my house, locked in the basement, and sleeping. That's just how much Jesus loves me. And I definitely wasn't dreaming and confusing that with the big real again. No, never happens.
And the coolest part
was hoping that the sun would fucking stay gone. I mean, come on, what has the sun ever done for us? Really? I mean, it's all hot, and it makes everything bright, and it makes random dipshits feel the need to take off their shirt and reveal their incredibly underwhelming bodies, at best. Just plain kind of gross bodies at worst. Nah, no more of that. Just perpetual pseudo-darkness. So everyone who likes the sun doesn't want to go out anymore, and us nerds, we can take back the day-night until we realise that it's still outside, so we go back inside to play Vimeo games. Wait, I have just been informed that without the sun, I wouldn't have any whiskey. You win this time, Plasma Boy.
in my opinion, was seeing the shadows. You know how the leaves on trees act as pinhole cameras?
What on earth are you talking about?
And they actually project images of the sun on the ground. That's why you see circles all over the place on the ground when sun is shining through trees just right.
Wait, what? Holy shit, he's actually right? There I was, ready to make fun of him for possibly doing something really dumb. I was assuming like holding a leaf up to his face to protect from the eclipse, but it's actually something, and it's actually pretty cool. I don't know how I feel about learning something that actually exists from Hans, and he doesn't appear to think that it's fake either. I guess stopped century clocks are right once 100 years. I have no idea if they're a thing, but if they aren't, we should invent them and break it. And if they are, we should buy one and also break it, just to make it apply to Hans and how seldom right he ever is.
And so watching those shadows change and become the crescent moons, that was really cool. That is one of the cooler parts of being able to witness a total solar eclipse. Of course, you can see that too if it doesn't go all the way to totality, so...
Yep, I will be looking out for it in the future, thank you, Hans. Now, back to our regularly scheduled Hans being wrong about almost literally fucking everything ever.
And then the second cool part was the way that it got dark. It doesn't get black.
Why would you expect it to? The sunlight is still, like, there. You can see it coming around the moon. That's why you aren't supposed to stare at it, because you're still getting sunlight coming at you. Honestly, I'm shocked you haven't brought up something about eclipse glasses being some kind of trick to control us, and that staring at the sun actually gives you superpowers, which is technically true if you count visual impairment via retinopathy as a superpower. Although, I don't remember the name of that particular X-Man's.
And that's because there's a difference between sunlight and daylight. It doesn't go completely black.
And I bet you thought I was being facetious when I explained why there's still light during an eclipse, you fool. Hans thinks that daylight and sunlight are somehow different fucking things. Because of course he does. He's a conspiracy boy, and hey, at least his stupid is up front, because he's also a religy boy, specifically a Crimsbian. And they often don't like it when you point out that somehow God made light on Earth before he made the sun. So at least in this case, it almost makes sense. It's just, extremely fucking wrong. Like seriously, if not from the sun, where the hell does daylight come from then? And why is it, bizarrely, always there when the sun is there as well? Almost like the two things are related.
But it does turn into a really strange twilight kind of light.
Yes, because much like at twilight, the sun is still there. It's just largely obscured either by the atmosphere or, the fucking planet we're on. And isn't it strange that as the sun goes out of view, it gets darker, and then conversely in the morning, when the sun starts to come into view, it gets lighter. It's almost like sun and light are related somehow, you fucking doofus.
And it is an odd feeling. It's a very mysterious feeling to be in the presence of totality, for sure.
Sure. It's not that it feels strange because it's daytime, but it's a bit darker than it should be at that time. And then, oh, now it's just like it was before again. You are just experiencing something that is slightly unusual. You get the same feeling if you go to a theme park when it's closed, or if you walk out onto a pitch of a favoured sports team that you have only ever experienced from its stands. It all hits different because, you know, it is different. But what it isn't is fucking magic.
And I'll just say this because I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to this. It couldn't have just been a local thing.
I mean, in your comment section maybe, but a lot? No. Luckily, most people aren't complete morons. I know he hasn't said what he's going to say yet, but you just know it's going to be dumb. Unless he's still talking about the eclipse when, at least for total ones, yeah, they are actually local. There's only a certain percentage of the planet where you'll be able to see a total eclipse because the angles are different depending on where you are. So, you know, it doesn't line up the same.
Right when totality happened, there was like a local airplane that flew by and left a giant chemtrail in front of it. I don't know what that was all about, but that was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, of course it was ridiculous. Chemtrails are nonsense. It was just an airplane flying past that left a contrail, and that's about it. I mean, the timing was what it was, but depending on where you were stood, you might not have seen it, or a different plane, or whatever. It's not that airlines stopped service just because of eclipses. That would be completely pointless. And what definitely is not happening is someone was trying to chemtrail over the fucking sun. I mean, you said it yourself. It was ridiculous. Why would they do that? Unless what they were doing was effectively nothing, because it was nothing. You're just mental.
And kind of soured the experience a little bit. Oh, great, we gotta have this chemtrail right over the totality.
Look, I feel you. In fact, for me, it would have actually been worse. Because for you, it's like, oh my god, look at my confirmation bias. And for me, it's like, oh look, a mundane thing that happens all the time. It doesn't change anything. Thanks for reminding me of normal, boring life while I experience this unique thing, you bastards.
But I don't know what was up with that. You guys can let me know if it was like that for you.
It probably wasn't, and they wouldn't know what was up with it anyway, because I'm sure none of them even know how fucking planes work.
So, in my opinion, outer space is fake.
Wow, that just came out of basically nowhere. I mean, seriously, we went for plane in front of eclipse. Why, though, to space-am fake without skipping a frickin' beat? I would be impressed if I wasn't so goddamn confused. But, of course, you think space is fake because you don't have that thing inside your skull that lets you understand things. So, ironically, you think space is fake because of the space that's inside your head.
It is a big deception.
Well, that's the understatement of forever. I mean, not the deception thing, but the saying space is big. It's so wildly underestimating just how big it is that it's actually kind of wild. And I think that's part of why your wormheads of the world don't like to think about the real thing as real. Because, you know, you are already a tiny speck of nothing on Earth. But if space is real and vast, then suddenly you go from a speck of nothing to subatomic levels of tiny, relatively speaking at least. And that just can't be, because my mum says I'm special, and Book, though, says I'm best friends with the boss of everything, TM. No, you're not actually. You're as pointless as I am. You should enjoy it. Maybe you'll stop being so fucking ridiculous.
It's the price you need to pay in order to...
Space is not the iron price. Oh man, I just disappointed myself. That show was so good, and then they fucked it all up by not letting Tommy Wiseau write the last episodes. Come on, don't tell me that shit would not have been better if it had gone like this.
Prominent families often forget a simple truth. I found.
And which truth is that?
have a say on the world stage. You need to buy into the paradigm of the outer space thing. Otherwise, you're not even allowed to to play the game.
What game, though? I mean, when does this shit even come up? No one is going around, do you believe in space? Do you believe in space? Do you believe in space? To everyone who is even remotely famous or important or whatever. No, what actually happens is you fuckers just cannot help yourselves. You are always chomping at the bit for the first opportunity to share this thing that you think you figured out. And by figured out, I mean watched some asinine video on YouTube that caters to your ego. And then everyone with an education that went beyond their 5th year on Earth laughs. Then realizes you're serious and then laughs even harder. But while trying to explain to the moron all the things that they clearly haven't understood. But instead of listening, you just see having your mistakes corrected as some sort of attack. Because there's no way you could ever be wrong about anything when literally the opposite is true, apart from that exactly one time with the leaves and the shadows.
You can't be a science teacher at a university and be like, no, I don't believe in outer space. That's a bunch of BS.
Oh, okay. Are you saying that if someone wants to be an educator of people, they have to be able to teach them things that are true? Say it ain't so. Although, again, to be fair, if you just kept that stupid shit to yourself, then as long as you were qualified to teach whatever, no one would care. In fact, I think if you were qualified and said that shit, most people still wouldn't care. But that's the thing about people who don't believe in space. They don't tend to be competent at anything, because that's it. You aren't being kept out of these fields by other people. You are being kept out of them by you and your inability to learn facts about anything. That's not an us problem. That's a you problem. Perhaps you should stop being so stupid for once in your life.
You must submit to that thought process in order to proceed.
Yeah, I know. What, they expect you to think? Is this fucking Auschwitz or something? We shouldn't have to be able to think to be able to teach things. That's just fucking dumb. Only the most empty-headed of no-brains should be able to be teachers. That way everyone will be just as thick as hands. And then no one will be able to call him a dumbass without looking like a hypocrite. It's a cunning plan.
In their little game. And that's how they work. It's the same thing with evolution. You're not allowed to be a biologist and say that you don't believe in evolution. And
of course. And no, it's not that. It's that if you are a biologist and you don't believe in evolution, you are probably a really shit biologist. And at best, it would be like being a race car engineer, but saying that you don't believe in fucking wheels. Sure, you could do most of the car, and maybe that car would technically be functional, but as soon as you put it onto a road, it's not going anywhere. This isn't about not buying into the paradigm, it's about being wrong. So wrong that you simply aren't capable of doing your actual job properly. I mean, you wouldn't want a lawyer who refused to read law books, and you don't want a biology teacher who doesn't understand a fundamental idea of how biology works.
And say that you believe in adaptation and that talking about a million years is a bunch of BS. That's not science.
What, saying that millions of years is a bunch of BS? Yeah, that isn't the science. Oh, right, you mean it's not science because, like all whack jobs, you think things are only science if they agree with what you already believe. You know, the opposite of science. And I don't mean because of what you believe. I mean because believing something and expecting science to agree with it regardless just isn't how it works. Real science is just conclusions based on evidence that explain that evidence as best as it can while accounting for most, if not all, of that evidence. Your shit is barely able to explain a singular thing, and even then, it doesn't really do it very well. Perhaps because of the conspiracy of reality to make you look like an idiot.
It doesn't come down to the scientific method. Who can travel to a distant star and confirm that all of these fantasies are reality?
The first thing, yes, it does. You just have no idea what the scientific method is or what it does, because if you did, you would have to stop being one of the wokedom people with the special mind powers of knowing the truth, TM. And we don't need to travel to distant stars to confirm things that happen on this planet, because we can already check them against things that happen on this planet, you know, like how science works.
Or we just have to take their word for it that by looking at light in the sky that they can tell me exactly what's happening.
I'm sorry, but in what context? You can't just say that and not give me an example of what thing they can tell you or whatever it is. Assuming you aren't just making stuff up, you should be able to test almost everything for yourself. There is essentially no basic science that you cannot repeat for yourself with time and a bit of equipment. And of course, that most elusive thing among conspiracy boys and flat earthers and the like, skill and knowledge. Although then again, he is literally saying, oh no, they won't let you do the things if you don't believe the science, which almost certainly equals don't understand the science, because that's the thing about people who think they don't believe in some aspect of science. You guys simply do not know enough to not believe it, as they never have even close to a complete understanding of it, and mostly not even as good as a rudimentary understanding. Because why would you learn the thing that you don't believe so you could actually refute it, instead of constantly saying shit about it that makes no sense? That would just be too easy.
And it all falls apart once you realize that
It would all fall apart if you bothered to put in the work and you could prove them wrong. But work, man, that's what those stupid science guys do. Not us super smart guys who are always right about everything. You don't have to learn things when you already know everything.
most people, they don't want to be thought of as stupid, and that's why they submit to just accepting whatever the world throws at them.
Actually, I think you'll find that most people just don't care because it's not that important to them. It's got nothing to do with being stupid, but what most people who do care do is actually study the things and learn about them, to understand them. What conspiracy theorists do is anything but that. They go into little groups where they discuss their unproven ideas and pump each other up and tell each other how smart they are for not falling for the they's tricks. All the while having no idea what the facts actually are on anything but the most superficial level. And then when they go out into the real world and talk to people who did actually learn things, they think the fact that they get completely fucking dunked on as proof, and it's a form of censorship because they don't get to be taken as seriously as people who actually know what the fuck they're talking about. It's not censorship to be told you are wrong, but it is basically self-censorship to refuse to allow your brain to know actual facts. You literally do this shit to yourselves.
Because they don't want to be thought of as a weirdo, or because I'm just saying this because I know a lot.
You know a lot? I'm willing to grant that you probably know a ton of things. It's just unfortunately, everything that you know, that one exception accepted, is fucking wrong.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the